Welcome and thanks for joining us for another episode of Code Girls on Air, a podcast exploring all things technology, female leadership, careers, education, and topics within the nonprofit sector. On this episode, we interviewed Jen Cinq-Mars, who is an officer in the Montana Air National Guard and works for the U.S. Forest Service as a biologist team leader. She is also on the board here at Code Girls United, so join Jen and me to hear more of her story. Welcome, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us today on Code Girls on Air.
Thank you, Makayla. Really appreciate being here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Do you think you could start by just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background and your career?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Whitefish, graduated from Whitefish High way back when, and went on to the University of Montana, studied environmental biology, and was a member of the Grizz soccer team. I initially began college, thought I wanted to be a biology teacher at the high school level, had some amazing biology teachers, and I thought that was my path. And then during college summers, I was fortunate enough to work for the Forest Service on the Tally Lake Ranger District, and doing stand exams and helping with wildland fire. I really enjoyed the work. Felt like I was making a positive difference for the future of the forests, and grew up around them camping and fishing. So that was definitely interesting to me. Unfortunately, when I graduated college, the Forest Service wasn't really hiring a lot of full-time permanent people. So I thought, well, one way to kind of get back there is to join the military, get veterans preference, and then at some point come back to the Forest Service. So shortly after graduating college, I applied to be an officer in the United States Air Force, and my knowledge of the military was limited. I had some family members that served, but myself, I was pretty sheltered from it, and didn't have much exposure, conversations, etc. When growing up. And, in our little northwest corner, we're a little isolated, I think.
Yeah.
So I joined the military kind of not really understanding or knowing what I was getting into, September of 2000. And I was a personnelist, which was similar to human resources in the corporate world. So not like the STEM based.
Right.
But eventually worked my way back to getting into environmental analysis for the military. And then obviously like September 11th of 2001 changed a lot of what we do in the military. So we were a lot more active and stuff. And then, I really enjoyed my time in the military. But fast forward that to now, I continue to serve in the military. I'm a guardsman. So I'm doing like the 1 weekend a month thing. And then I finally was able to return to the Forest Service as an environmental planner.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it kind of all worked out. And the military is really what provided me the veterans preference. It also helped a lot on the like leadership, supervision, public speaking, teamwork. Met some amazing people. Got to deploy 5 times, live in Italy for a couple of years.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, and really travel to a lot of places that I would have never probably seen. And then I met my husband and a lot of lifelong friends. So overall, a great experience.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more about why you wanted to go into help in the Forest Service? I know you kind of touched on it, but could you expand?
Yeah, sure. So at that time in my life, college summers, we got to go walk around the woods and measure trees and take all this data on the forest and how healthy or potentially unhealthy it was. And it just kind of blew my mind that we got paid to do this because we were like hiking all day and obviously collecting data and doing some analysis of the data, but it was just such an awesome opportunity to be able to do that. And I did feel like we would write reports at the end of the day based on what we had collected and like tree health and diseases and wildlife that we saw or lack of wildlife if we thought we should have like saw some in the area. And I felt like it was kind of growing up in Montana,
Yeah.
it's like camping and fishing is what we do. And it was kind of a way to like continue that for other people. And it was just really interesting to me. So that's kind of what got me hooked onto that.
Yeah. And what made you choose the National Guard against other branches of the military?
Yeah, so I was in the Air Force active duty
Gotcha.
for like 7 years. And then the Air National Guard was just kind of the most similar. But my husband and I, we weren't stationed together all the time. So it was a way for us to actually live together again.
Oh, yeah.
And so the National Guard is just kind of that one weekend a month thing
Yeah.
where we can control being together a little bit more, which works out well.
Yeah. No, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So what would you say most surprised you when you were starting out?
So I think the military, I mean, I was immediately thrown into
Right.
an environment that was much different than Montana. The first place I went to training was Alabama, and then my first duty station was Delaware. So just like culturally and I mean, everything about it, like weather, everything was just different.
Uh-huh.
But the people were still good people, and working with a team of people that I seemingly had like no connection with, we just really bonded to achieve the mission or work together as a team to do a task. And I mean, of course, there's sometimes a few folks who aren't on board, but I think they kind of quickly either join in or you kind of handle that situation. But it really showed how that team can really gel together quickly when you have a common goal or objective in mind, and just how well people from all over the place can work together in achieving that.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful to see.
Yeah.
So you go away one weekend, once a month, but then you're with the Forest Service the rest of the time. So what does kind of an average day in your life look like now?
Yeah, so Monday through Friday, my days are really working remotely, coordinating with an interdisciplinary team on analysis of environmental effects and mitigation measures for forest projects. So that interdisciplinary team is, we have like an archaeologist, we have a botanist, we have a fisheries biologist, a hydrologist, soil scientist, wildlife biologist, firefighters, foresters, and recreationalists to make sure that we're not missing an aspect, and that we analyze all those different specialties on our projects to make sure that we can mitigate any significant effects to the environment, and then obviously taking into account like human health and safety and those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite kind of part or area that you work in?
So I actually work over in the forests in Idaho,
Right.
but that's where all the projects I do.
Gotcha.
But when I grew up in the Whitefish area, I mean, I have some trails up in the Tally Lake Ranger District that, like Lupine Lake is a really nice trail, and then you get a little bit off the trail, like some of those trails that are a little bit of a drive, and you hike like half a mile, you really get kind of away from everybody. So it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some of the challenges you've faced as a woman in a male-dominated field, and how did you kind of overcome those?
So yeah, in some settings, it seems like there's not that same automatic bond that others appear to have. And at times I felt like I had to work a little bit harder or do just a little bit more to achieve the same status in some people's views. And I would just say to anyone in that situation, try and find somebody that is willing to mentor and empower you, and really latch on to them. And then remember to be that person, that same person for someone else. Because, I mean, every day there's new people walking through the door that maybe they felt that same kind of not as welcome, or just not maybe part of that team immediately. And if you can do that for somebody else, you know, you just continue to build up others and build a good team.
Yeah. And so you talked a little bit about being a mentor to somebody else. Did you have many mentors when you were kind of first starting out?
Yeah. So, I mean, I had mentors of both genders, and it definitely, I think I took little bits and pieces from each of them. And some mentors, I mean, if I could have like replicated what they did and how they acted, that's who I would want to be. And then there's other people that I would take certain aspects, but maybe not the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And then there's some people, not necessarily a mentor, but there's people you learn from because you don't want to do kind of what they did. And those are good lessons too, as long as you realize that. Yeah.
Yeah, good examples of what not to do, or maybe
Exactly.
not what to become.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about your experience with Code Girls?
Yeah. So I just joined the board in June, and so just the summer, and my first meeting was in July. I think originally they were looking to get somebody that had a connection to the Department of Defense, because they do a star-based program in the Helena and Great Falls area. I think ultimately the goal is to kind of incorporate some of the coding curriculum into the star-based program, but that's kind of down the road as things continue to build. But at the end of June, I had the opportunity to come observe a summer camp in Kalispell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was so amazing because I got to watch third graders learn binary code, apply binary code through a few kind of hands-on activities.
Yeah, were they making the bracelets then, or is that something else?
Bracelets, and then just also thinking how the computer thinks. So there was the peanut butter sandwich exercise.
That is one of my favorite exercises we do. It's just so much fun every time.
I did awful. They loved it though. And then I got to watch them like an hour later build their own app.
Yeah.
And so just in a couple hours, it was so amazing to see the process that they went through and the instructor engagement. It was, just transformational. It was amazing. So yeah, very impressive.
Yeah, fun to hang out with all the girls and their
Yeah.
unicorn stuff, because I know coding grew the unicorns for the summer camp, so lots of unicorns everywhere.
The unicorn went grocery shopping.
Oh, yes, that app. I remember seeing that app.
Yeah.
No, we were just looking around, and we're looking to incorporate something like that into our future summer camp curriculums. So kind of as we wrap up here, what's some advice you'd give to somebody interested in your field?
So I just say, seek out someone in that career and visit with them about the things that we've been discussing today. What is that typical day like? What do you enjoy most? And see if it continues to kind of pique your interest. A great way is to do like a shadow, if that's a possibility. See if you can go to work with that person for a couple hours. And I would also add, like, if you're able to do that, maybe try and meet more people and get those different perspectives and insights from not just that one person, but more folks. And I think ultimately, if you're able to find something that you enjoy doing and you're passionate about, and you can bring that energy to your work every day, you'll be much happier and ultimately more productive.
Yeah.
And then just don't turn down opportunities. I know in my career, I've done some things that I didn't at the time. I didn't really understand, like, why am I doing this? Or I thought maybe, I guess maybe it was a little beneath me, if you will. But in the long run, it benefited me to know what that person did, how they did it, and really gain a better understanding. So go in with an open mind and really try and make the best of some of those projects that maybe at first don't seem so exciting.
Yeah, no, definitely. Any last thoughts or words before we end here?
I just really appreciate the opportunity, and I really appreciate your guys' professionalism and what you do to further the mission. So thank you. Really appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And it was an honor to have you on the show today. Thank you for listening to this episode. Next week on Code Girls on Air,
we have AI that can ingest millions and trillions of data points and spit out a custom dashboard with everything you're looking for in a matter of seconds. Really, the mundane routine things that humans used to do have all transformed, and technology can do all those things, and it's allowing humans to focus on very high level strategic tasks versus the mundane kind of monotonous things.